Hump Day! Greetings, everybody. It's your buddy Chop It On coming at you with the MLB Rundown brought to you by DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports. We'll get to all that stuff out of the way before we dive into the slate. Obviously, head down to the comments section. Check out the link, DFSArmy.com. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get that 20% off discount that makes you a better player in every sport, every site, every tool, everything. And I'm going to go through something here at the end that should help people out in terms of contest selection today. So let's dive in really, really quick. If you like it, obviously like and subscribe to the video. I want to remind you to do that every time. Get in here on Hump Day with a split slate, little smaller main slate tonight, 10 games. And let's do our research. Follow me out on social media too. Here we go. Easiest thing to do is go to the starting pitching matchup tab, sort. I'm skipping over K-score today. I'm just going to go straight down here to the trash on the bottom and look for who we're going to stack against. So what I'm looking for is, I'm not going to block a guy out just because he's got one green. I'm just looking for mostly pinks and reds, and that's what I see. When I get up here to where I start seeing more greens, I kind of bail. So these bottom 4 or 5 guys, maybe up here to Derek Holland, would be, 2.4 home runs per 9. That is going to be somebody that I might want a piece of. But I'm looking generally down here at the very, very bottom anyway. And see, these big numbers in the low 500s aren't indicative of super bad pitching necessarily. They're just the worst that we have to deal with today. So we're going to scroll back over here and we're going to see who they are. Minnesota, Houston, Boston, Cleveland, maybe Cincinnati, maybe LA, probably Chicago Cubs are lined up in a good spot today. Now here's the thing. If we only paid attention to the bottom 3 or 4 guys, we would miss out on these Chicago Cubs. That's why you need to watch this column a little bit over here to the left of the Chop Shop for stuff like this. Because why? When I kick over to the batting matchups tab, look at who jumps to the top. It's all the Chicago people. When I sort the column W score by descending order to push all of the big numbers up to the top, that lets me know which batters are in the best spot, which individual batters are in the best spot. Notice that the other teams that I mentioned didn't jump to the top, but like the 6th or 7th worst pitching W score facing the Chicago Cubs still was severe enough it brought the Cubs to the top. So the Cubs are absolutely going to be one of my favorite stacks today, along with the other teams that I just mentioned. I can also check a little secondary trick. I can kick off the Cubs, make them go away, and then see Texas, Tampa, Boston is only in here twice. So nobody really slam dunks in here next. Okay? So it's going to be mostly the Cubs on these individual, but they're going to be in everything. So you could take these Cubs, Bryant, Baez, Martinez, Contreras, whatever, and maybe even Bodie, and you just jack them up in the projections pool. What I've been doing lately, I've made an adjustment. Now notice I tell you I make 1 or 2 adjustments at a time. I don't just tear down my system and start all over. That's why this video shows you the consistency from top to bottom, doing the same thing every single day. But one thing I have started doing is I want these guys to pull in. I want Chris Bryant. I want Javi Baez. I want Jose Martinez to be in my stacks, but I also want them to be one-off plays. And to do that, I have to throw their projections up in the optimizers higher. I can boost them to 15% that the optimizer lets me at DFS Army, but I've been manually adjusting these particular guys up 20%. I want them 30, 40% owned in my lineups. If they're in that good of a spot, I want them everywhere. That's what we did with San Francisco lefties yesterday. And look at what happened. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it does work, you get them in your stacks and as one-offs. So that when the team doesn't necessarily go off, but one of these hitters in a great spot does, you've still got him helping a lot of your other lineups around the industry. It's how you sort of help fine-tuning your process. You've got a good process started right now with picking teams, picking some of the better pitchers, and then stacking those teams with some weight, not doing it 10% across the board with 10 teams, but doing 25% on your favorite teams, maybe 15 to 10% on your other teams, and then so on down to 6%, 4%, whatever with the teams that you want little pieces of but not a lot. That helps to keep you from getting so spread out that nothing does well on a given night and everything does mediocre. We're focusing our power by putting weight on those stacks, but this is going to further focus that power in our one-offs and mix in the same one-offs with all of our different stacks. I can run, Cleveland and San Diego, Minnesota and Boston, Philadelphia and San Diego, Texas and Chicago, but I still end up with a lot of the same one-offs coming into those lineups too across the board. And then when one of those one-offs happens to be Alex Dickerson or Marcell Ozuna or somebody like that, like happened last night, I think Dickerson was in a handful of my lineups. Ozuna was in 42% of my lineups. Uh, they're going to boost you up those leaderboards even if they're not in part of your stack, if that makes sense. So going position by position, I sorted that W score down to 580 today. So there's only one catcher. It's Wilson Contreras. 3 first basemen, Sano, Guzman, and Moreland. Okay, this just doesn't take long, guys. Dietrich and Broso for second base. Bryant and Bodie for third base. And I know I'm flying because I want to spend some time on the other part that I want to explain to you today. Baez, Bogarts, and Tatis. And if you still like Tim Anderson, or you still Tatis doesn't show up on this, but you still like him because he's ripping the cover off of the ball, then yeah, by all means, take your favorites. Take the guys the coaches recommend. Take some guy with great BVP or great trends or something like that, and boost him too. Add him to your list. Outfield is obviously loaded again with all of these names. And you might cut some of these down, you might add some more to it. Whatever you see a guy with great BVP and you want to throw in like a Bryce Harper or something, I mean, go for it. May not even be on the slate tonight, but you see what I'm saying? You're going to see some of these little things. Feel free to add to your player pool, subtract it. Don't just go on based on what I say. Just learn my process and then start adding your own thoughts to it. I would definitely go check the trends tab, the BVP tab, those types of things out and see if I shouldn't be adding some players in. If I see a guy high on the W score list who's trending hot, who is also got good BVP against his pitcher today, I might honestly boost him 20% or 25%, or put a minimum exposure on the optimizer of 15 or 20 or 25% on the guy and just force him in everywhere. Because even if this little main overview doesn't really spot him, instead I spotted him and I'm going to take the chance and I'm going to push him into my lineups. That is a factor of your process as well, or it should be. So that said, let's talk a little bit about contest selection because so many people have been bringing this up to me. And honestly, why are you so frustrated? What's going on with what you're trying to do? And if you're on FanDuel, FanDuel sucks for MME. It only gives you a couple of options, nickels, maybe dollars, whatever. It doesn't give you very many options for your budget. But look at the 191,000 person contest. You should be tracking how often you get into that top 1%. The problem is the top 1% doesn't pay. This contest is so top heavy, it is a lottery ticket. If you get into the top 150 or top 1%, you're doing pretty well. Hell, if you get into the top 150, you've done really, really well. Because what's 1%? Move the decimal point over 2 places. It's 1,916th, or depending on if the contest fills, whatever this number over here is. But top 1,900 people, gosh, getting into the top 150 is the top 10th of 1%. You've done great, and you've still got 150 people to beat. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to produce that lineup that often. So understand that when you go into this contest. You're playing it to hopefully win it someday. Understanding that 99 out of 100 days, you're not going to win it. I mean, if even 99 out of 100, maybe 999 out of 1,000 days or more. Understand that. This is not the kind of contest you're entering to grind up a bankroll. That makes no sense. This is the type of contest you're entering for fun or to play, and practice your MME skills, learn how to manipulate optimizers, learn how to play a little bit of game theory, learn how to tighten your player pools so that and then take those skills that you learn elsewhere and put those in different contests and then win those. See, if you come down here to, say, the $12, wherever that dude is, the $12 small line drive. This is one of my favorite contests on FanDuel. It's only 49 people. If I build a top 2% lineup, I beat those people. Watch this. If I pull up the calculator and I try to play 49 people, I have a 1 in 49 chance of winning. Top 2% lineup has a shot to win this tournament. Yeah, it only wins, 10, 12x. It only wins $150 on your $12, but you're going to win this. How often are you going to beat 50 people? Quite a bit, right? You're not going to go 1,000 times without winning this tournament, right? So, but if I was going to enter that 191,000 person tournament, 1 divided by 191,000, look at my chances of winning this That's like 5/10,000th or 500,000ths of a percent chance of winning that tournament. Where here, I've got a 2% chance. So, granted, I'm still going to lose 98% of the time. If I get good at building top 5% lineups, I have a shot at this thing. If I build top 2%, top 1% lineups, I have a shot at this thing. Okay? This would be the kind of contest that I would use those skills. And I would learn that 49 doesn't take that many people to beat, so I can play a little chalkier lineup in this. I can play Coors Field. I don't have to fade it. I can play, smash spots, or I can play Garrett Cole, or I can whatever. Because all I'm really trying to do is get into the top 20%, which is ninth place, and then get close, get good at getting close. This is like the old Kansas City Chiefs playoff philosophy. If we get in every year, we have a shot to win the title every year. So get good at getting in, getting invited to the party, and then let luck take you the rest of the way, perhaps. But in a contest like this, you don't need a lot of luck. Skill will win this contest. It takes a booty load of luck to win this contest. Because even when you get into, let's say the top 2% is what, 3,800 people, that's still min cashing. That's down in here, 4x, excuse me. Get into the top 1%, you're 5x. You're not going to do that with 150 lineups. You're not going to do that with 150 of them. You're going to do that with some, 2, 3, 4 of them a night. And that's not going to pay the bills because you're going to win 2 or 3 quarters, and it's not going to pay back the $7.50 it took to max enter this thing. You got to get a lot deeper, but you got to get a lot deeper. You got to get into the top 50 before it even starts making sense. But worst yet is you finish, say, fifth place, you only get $50 when the first place guy gets 400. You finish in 20th place, you only get $3. You beat 191,000 people, or 189,080 people, and you only get $3? Guys, really and truly on the face of it, this is stupid. This is a stupid contest. It just happens to be really, really cheap. And so we can practice our skills. If I wanted to grind a bankroll, I would come over to DraftKings and I would play in these dimes that are only 3,500 people because I win $30 and that's not a lot. It's not $300 or $500, but I can win this tournament. I can still enter 20 lineups among 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of these competitions. I can enter 20 lineups in all of them. I can mix them up. I can enter a total of, say, 60 or a total of 80 lineups every night. Enter 2 or 3 of these contests. Doesn't matter which one I win. I'm gunning for that $30 first prize. And if I only spent $8 to get into it and I win $30, I had a good night. And I can do that more frequently. Way better atmosphere for MMEing for results. Plus, I get down here, top 20, 25%, top 20 or 25% win. Once I start getting into the top 10th of 1%, which would be about 4th place, I've only got 3 people to beat, and the numbers really start to climb. And I can do that on a weaker lineup than it takes to beat the 191,000 people in the nickels. Another thing, if this doesn't work for you, you've got down here $10 to first place for beating 1,200 people. You're going to win this one 3 times as often as this one. It's just the math. Or you can come down here and play even for quarters. This is one of my favorite things to do right now, is add this one in. I don't play the winner take alls very often, but I will play these micro boosters. Let's say 237 people, top 5 people. Notice big names like EMAC in this thing? That's why. They're smart contests. You get 7 shots at it. If I build, say, 20 lineups for a 20 max, 20 for a 20 max, 20 for a 20 max, that's 60. And let's say I wanted to enter this 7 times. I would build 67 lineups with the same settings in the optimizers. I would throw in 7 random lineups in this thing. If I get into 5th place, that's a top, what, 5% lineup? 5 divided by 237, that's $10. Turn a dime or turn a quarter into $10. You can win. You can beat 237 people. You can certainly get into the top 5 of it. I did it last night on a crappy lineup. That's how I netted a profit last night, was by playing these smaller, more winnable contests. Yes, I take shots at these others, but I'm playing the smaller, more winnable contests too. If that type of coaching helps you get to be a better player, that's my goal. Come inside dfsarmy.com, visit coupon code CHOP, CHOP, like and subscribe to the video, and get in here and start winning in every sport, every format, every site. We can teach you how. It's Wednesday, hump day. See y'all later.